Welcome back to Hunted Mini Bikes. As you may have noticed, this time of year it's starting to get cold. Hence my new outfit. What better to fight the cold than Tigger? What better to fight the cold than Tony the Tiger? What better to fight the cold than Richard Barker? What better to fight the cold than a motherfucking tiger? Nothing beats a tiger, except maybe this mini bike today, because we're going to make it even more aggressive. We're going to focus on 60-tooth rear gear. It's ultra light, under a pound. Next, we have the yellow spring for our driven gear, because it gives us more power in first gear. And then a silver chain, because it's way lighter than a gold one, and it's even thinner. Plus a 125cc 1-gallon tank, because it's going to give us about another 30 to 40 miles. And then a B200 spring seat, so I can have at least 2 inches of travel before I get punched in my ass. Finally, the 125cc pit bike plastic setup, because it's fancy, we're fancy, and that's just how life works. Now you may be asking what we've already done to this bike. Well, let me tell you. We added a better tire in the rear for more traction, completely swapped the motor to a 224 for more power and torque, and then went with the nibby 22mm carburetor because it does way better in the top end. And here on the other side, we completely scrapped that clutch setup for the 30 series torque converter setup, and then scrapped that stock driver that only handles about 5 or 6 horsepower for the jug converter, which handles about 12 to 15. Then we got a header pipe for more airflow and a muffler tip because it sounds cool and it's got a spark arrestor in there so we can legally ride in the forest. Now this current setup does do wheelies. It'll hit 45, 47 miles an hour, but we always ask the question,
fucking frame for the bike, man.
So this is actually called the Coleman B200R, and you can get them at Tractor Supply for like 650 bucks. And they come with a
So today, we're going to start with testing everything we put on the bike first. And then, if you like what you see, I can show you how to do that step by step at the end of the video. But first, let's make our way to the speed test.
oh my god, dude. I am barely touching the throttle. Look at this. This is like beach sand. This is so, this is perfect, man. Oh my god. Woo! Don't have any lights and I'm wearing shaded goggles. Oh god. Oh my gosh. That was definitely scary. Oh. We had to float out of that. Woo. Oh god. Oh god. Stay alive, buddy. Oh. Yeah, we launched out of that guy. So we're going to do a little speed test. There's a horrible bump in the middle here. So, guess we're just going to have to deal with that. Okay. Hope you can see that all right. Okay, shit. We were running that thing down. Okay, so I do not feel I'm going up and down still, but there's no severity of these bumps to me anymore. The seat is taking just the right amount of cushion. Oh, you guys alive over there in the camera? Jesus. Oh. Thank you, seat. That would have been a butt punch so hard. So hard. A bit rough, but the new seat takes up all the hard bump. It's just a nice bounce. Loaded the front tire there. Oh. Yeah. Load this up all for me. I think that's the fastest we've ever done that track. That was good. That was real good. Okay, so I just want to show you how easy it is to get going. Usually you wait for like some kind of hard engagement. You're like, oh no. With this Juggernaut, look, it's instant. And there's no like yank, it's just a lot of torque. So like, see? But it doesn't pull you when you're sitting. It's like perfectly aligned to just start instantly. So you can cruise at like 1/8 the throttle and it's still accelerating. If you just hold it at a quarter, get up to 20, and you're just hanging out on using like no gas, right? And then you're like, your friend pulls up next to you and you're like, nah, man, nah. Oh, that was a cakewalk, to be honest. Thick sand to bad dirt on a hill. Oh my God. All right, here we go. There's no way we're not making this. Oh, not even slowed down on the hill. Dirt. Oh. Half throttle. Oh my gosh, bro. This thing's so good. Woo, nice couple run-ups here. Oh my God. No problem at all. Oh, geez, man. This thing did not have a problem with this hill before, and it is so much faster now. I am spinning on each of these corners. Oh. Woo. Jeez. Woo. Oh, yeah. This 62 is just taking it. This is super steep, like so steep. My brakes are all the way pulled. They are locked. And this is as slow as I can go down this hill. And you know what? I think we're gonna give it a try. Okay, this is even steeper than that hill. Man, this is crazy. All right, guys, this is where we made it to. That was perfect. Oh my God. Woo. Man, I'm tired. Nice. This thing has so much control with these huge tires, bro. It's ridiculous. Like, look at this. Whoa. I almost high-sided, but instead we just did something super cool. Like, I will. Yeah, that was a good one. This is the lineup for the jump. We're probably just gonna roll it because it's not really a jump anymore. But oh my God. That was a good one. Even just rolling that, we got some air. That was it. Woo. Yeah. Oh man, I heard a bottom out there. I can feel the front end lift every time I rev it up. Here we go.
What is that?
224.
Yeah?
Yeah, but it's like a power washer motor.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you made it?
Yeah. All right. Have a good one. All right, we'll call it. Yeah.
How'd you do?
40 miles an hour.
40 miles an hour?
Yeah. So here, watch this gear. So see how it gets bigger? Yeah. Yeah, so that's what happens. It expands and it changes the size of the gear. Oh yeah. It's called Hunted Mini Bikes.
Of course.
Yeah.
I like that get up too.
Oh, thank you, bro. It's my first day wearing it out.
Sick, dog. You look like a high-class Russian right now.
Oh yeah, bro. That's what I was thinking too, like Russian mafia. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Fuck yeah.
And now I can show you step by step how to put all these parts on your own bike. Now we're going to start with what I think is easier first. We're going to replace the spring in the driven gear here, and I'll show you just how. We're going to start with an adjustable wrench because I don't have the right size for this. And you'll notice this moves the bike. So what we're going to do is take one of our other tools and jam it in the rear sprocket here so that it can't move as well. This is still going to be a pain in the butt. Oh, not really. Always make sure that's tight before you ride. And now there's a couple ways to get this belt off. You can either remove this side and take it off with it, or you can get a long screwdriver and do what I'm about to do. I don't suggest this, but when in a pinch, it always works. Okay, Jesus, it's kind of a pain in the butt. It's doable. Okay, we got the belt off. Now those two are separated, and we can remove this with no problem. For this little ring clamp, it's a super pain in the butt, and it's going to spring off if you're not careful. Whew. All right, we got it. Gonna let that unscrew. Whew. All right, we popped it off. Now this part is where it becomes a little bit of a pain in the ass. Once you get your spring in the bottom end, you're going to want to match your top with the center hole. And then go ahead and make sure that these teeth right here are on the back side of that driven gear. That's what gives it the spring torque to shift through the gears here. This is where you might need two people. You got to keep some pressure on it while you get your ring clamp here. Get your pliers in there and make sure you have it down far enough to get the ring clamp in, or at least part of it. Because if you can get a corner, you're halfway there. We're on. That is all changed and ready to go. It took me about 5 minutes. Oh my gosh, and don't forget the last bolt here, like I almost just did. And remember, when you're tightening it, it's going to spin that back wheel. So make sure you have a tool to jam in there. We're going to be essentially using the same tools as we did before. Now, once we get the master length off here, we can go ahead and pull that out. Sometimes if you don't clean your chain, it's going to be a pain in the butt. There we go. All settled. Now we're going to go ahead and loosen up this rear gear here. And remember, you have one spacer on this side, and the brake is the spacer on this side. Awesome. This is the size comparison difference, just so you know about how much more torque we're going to be getting. And it's quite a lot. Now you want to make sure that this part is clean and doesn't have any dirt or divots in it that can make your gear uneven here, because that will only get worse with time. Now when reinstalling the screws, you're going to want to hand tighten them in so you don't cross thread them forever, and then hit them with the drill to make sure they never come out. Back on so that it's easier to measure out the chain. Now remember, you have a spacer for this side, and the other side, the brake is the spacer. And with the new chain, we're going to want to move this as far forward as possible so it gives us as much stretching to allow that we can. Now I do have 6 feet of chain here, which should be plenty enough to run for the bike. And we're going to want to try and
make this as easy as possible. So slide it through the hardest parts first, which will be the torque converter. Now that's a perfect chain setup because we want this fat one to go over that skinny one. That's where the master link is going. This is the one we're going to pop right here. Now, if you do ever have a chain popper, these crappy little cheap ones are always the best. The chain is cut to the perfect length. You want the skinny ones to fit the master length in. And then our slide washer, we want to make sure that if the tire's rotating this way, we want the open side to be facing that way so it only gets punched on harder and never knocked off. Nice. We're all set to go. We can pull the tire back and start tightening up the chain, but it's already good to go, so we're just going to tighten it there. Okay, now once you got everything tightened back up here, you want to go ahead and give that tire a spin. Make sure you don't hear any grinding noises. And make sure both sides of the axle are lined up perfectly so that you have a straight wheel. Next, we're going to install the spring seat here, and here's a few tools you're going to need for it. An 8mm and a pretty long extension. Doesn't have to be this long, but it can be. There are two 8mm bolts under the seat right here. Okay, so now we're going to have to prep the seat for our seat mount. These little toggles. Perfect. Okay, now that you have that done, we're going to take our metal plate here and slide it over these rear brackets. Then we're going to secure the plate to the seat with all these little screws. Okay, now we're going to get started with mounting the hinge in the front of the seat. You're going to want to make sure the bar is in front of this, but behind the bolts that we're going to install. You want to take one bolt and a spacer. Make sure you have the right size. And finally, your flat bracket here. Next, we're going to want to mount the springs. And you're going to want to take this part and slide it under the bar so it mounts into the old bolt holes as well. As you can see right there. You're going to want to line up the springs first and then try and get it to match the hinge here in front. That's why we left this part loose. Okay, now that everything is tightened up on the seat, we're going to go ahead and take these and put them in the springs here, if you can see, to make sure that they don't ever bounce out on too high of a bump. Yeah, I mean, that's plenty of travel, actually. I agree with that. It's nice. It's just a little noisy. Okay, so here comes the part where we're going to start to fit things where they shouldn't go. This gas tank is going to be up here, whether it wants to be or not. And what do we need to do that? We're going to need a 6-inch bolt with a 2-inch washer and 2 smaller washers, definitely a nut that goes on the end, and 1 military-grade zip tie. So let's get started here. We're going to shove this back under the seat. Make sure you have your petcock installed because that will depend on how far you can get this back under your seat. So probably going to get it to about the end of this right here, which is a good space because that's just the amount of room we need to turn. We're going to take our long bolt here and our 2 small washers on top and slide those through the front gas tank mount. We're going to get that down below the frame and then install our super large washer and our nut behind that, holding it in place, preventing it from sliding forward. Okay, so now that we've got it partway on there, I'm going to go ahead and get my zip tie and slide this back as far as it'll go, mounting it to the new seat mount. That'll hold it back all the way, and then we can secure it in place. Okay, so the gas tank is in there, but it does move a little bit. I'm not satisfied. It's a gas tank. I want it to be completely still. So we're going to drill out these front holes and put another military zip tie through it. If you can't duct tape or zip tie it to work, you didn't make it right. Okay, now we have enough zip ties in place. I feel comfortable with that gas tank being there, and we can still turn all the way. So we made it fit perfectly. So when you're running one tank on top of another, you either want a second sealed tank with a vent that goes up to the second one, which I can't do that. This is a stock tank. So I'm actually going to run this fuel line down through the stock gas cap and then only turn this tank open when this one's completely out, so I'm not overfilling it every time. This is basically going to be a reservoir tank for us. You want about this much wire sticking down below the cap, and we're going to go ahead and hot glue it on top here and hope it doesn't melt through both the wire or the gas tank lid. So as you may have noticed, these are pit bike parts. This is supposed to mount up here, but that gives us a problem. I now have something in the way every time I turn, and I don't want to be bumping this each time. So what we're going to do is actually modify this interior part, which would normally mount up here, and put it up top for more of a sport bike look. We're going to keep it nice and tight and then secure this piece so it's not flapping in the wind. So incidentally, we can actually take our old seat bolts that we replaced, bam, and those are going to fit perfectly into the gas tank right here. Okay, we're going to use clear zip ties, and that's going to make it so you can't see it. You don't have to worry about it. Out of sight, out of mind. And obviously these aren't supposed to fit on the bike. Normally I would mount them to the frame, but our seat is so high here, I'm going to go ahead and shoot them up into the seat to hide all that spring work and everything, kind of make that fade away into the distance. Good, not going to be able to feel that screw at all. Good deal. But we are going to add this onto here. How am I going to do that, you ask? I'm going to shoot it in with self-tappers. Okay, these are plastics. These are super cheap. This whole plastic kit was like 25 bucks. I know this is like 15 bucks, so if I want to replace it later, I can. How are we going to mount this, you ask? That's right, zip ties again. We're going to mount this to the bottom here so that we can zip tie it around back to itself. And then I'm actually going to cut this short to about right here. And we're going to zip tie that on top too. Bam! Now we have just the front fender left, which this is actually the piece, and it's going to look super funny if we have like this really thin coverage over a super wide tire. So I'm going to try and actually mate these two together. As you see, I've traced this out already. I'm going to try and form that into this one. We're going to line this up as straight as possible because we got one shot at this. Perfect. We're going to do our best to fill this in perfectly level and not get it too many other places because silicone really isn't that paintable either. Okay, so we got the front fender painted here. It's all nice, glued in, bolted up, and went ahead and painted the rest of the plastics here because it would look weird if one was a different color. Speaking of different colors, does this match the bike? No, it doesn't. But don't worry about it. We're going to paint the bike in a future episode. Okay, so we've got all the plastics on the bike and it is really coming together. Starting to look super fancy. And you may have noticed an extra piece on the bike. That's right there in the middle. I had to screw it in because it didn't have a mounting point. But I went down to my local hardware store, got a piece of metal, and just bent it up to match the plastics here so it flows with the body lines a little bit better. I think it's coming together super well. There's more to come though, so we're not done yet. Okay, and the last thing we have to do is to put these stickers on. Man, we're just going to do this the easy way, with our hands. Ooh. Oh, that's nice. Wow. That's a lot better than I thought. It's going to be gorgeous. Oh. All at once.
Well, thanks again for dropping by Hunted Mini Bikes. I really enjoyed making this video on the B200R Dirt Bike Edition, so if you have any questions, just drop them in the comments down below. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. But as always, stay fast, my friends.